Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the United States for today's second video. This is our USA forecast. It's going to be the final USA forecast of the year. So we're going to be in Christmas week, of course, next week. So I should be scaling back some of the videos. One of the videos that will be scaled back next week will be the USA forecast. So this will be the final forecast for America, for the next couple of weeks. It'll be back in the new year. So I shall get on with the USA forecast for you in a moment. Just say that the first video release was our 7 AM upload. We're going to have a 10 to 14 day coming up for you later on, and it's going to be live streaming from 6 or half 6 this evening. Have a look on my community page a little bit later on, and I'll let everybody know when the live stream is going to be. But yeah, between 6 and 7, there's going to be a live stream, and we're going to be giving away our Amazon voucher in that, and we'll also have a look at the 12Z as well. So yeah, please like, share, subscribe on the video. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that, and hope you're having a lovely Wednesday morning. Right, so let's begin the USA forecast. I'm going to start off with the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at New York City today. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for New York, although we lose that after New Year at the moment on these graphs. But we're starting off mild on average at the moment, a very mild sort of start to the winter. A little bit of a cold snap coming up, heading towards Christmas, but only briefly, and then it gets milder between Christmas and the New Year. And, yeah, just saying generally mild then, really, I think, right way through into the beginning of January. There's certainly no sign of anything desperately cold. Even this sort of cold spell just here, this little cold snap, is no more than like that cold snap. There's no sign that we bring in, like, the extreme cold from Canada at the moment for New York, not getting down to minus 15 at 850 HPA. We're certainly not getting down to minus 20 at 850 HPA. We're getting nowhere near to minus 25 at 850 HPA, which, of course, Northern America can do so. So there's no sign of anything severely cold coming up in the next couple of weeks. Looks like temperatures are going to be remaining quite mild, really. Although a few cold snaps coming and going, but certainly nothing out of the ordinary. Precipitation-wise, with this cold snap, there will be a cold front involved just there, so that might bring some rain and also some snow, potentially. And then in the warm-up, around or just after Christmas, we might get some snow there with that precipitation spike just there, lifting the temperature up, though, so any snow is likely to fall quite quickly, I would have thought. Beyond that, just looks generally quite unsettled, really heading off in towards the new year. Temperature anomalies, look at this, from the 21st of December to 29th are very mild across most parts of America. It is colder in the northwest, so that Pacific northwestern side and into inland northwestern America, looking quite cold in most states, but otherwise most areas are very mild. Really warm across Texas, over 20 Fahrenheit above average. Most parts of America, like through the Midwest into the east as well, looking really mild, to be honest, in the week ahead. Precipitation-wise, we look like that. Very wet across those western parts of America, so it's coldest, it's also wettest. Obviously, there will be a risk of snow, therefore, in some of those western states, particularly over high ground, mountainous areas, but Rocky is going to get a lot of snow, I would have thought. And some of those northern states like Oregon can expect some snow as well. Meanwhile, further west, it's reasonably wet through the Midwest, actually, so rain, possibly some snow at times, and that does extend into some of those eastern states. Many of these southern, southeastern parts of America, though, looking significantly drier than normal. So this is the latest setup across America today. So we have got a little bit of cold air trying to dig into the Midwest and into the east as well, courtesy of that area of low pressure. That's a little cold snap we saw of a New York ensemble graph a moment ago. That will push into the far east and northeast. Meanwhile, this ridge in the west seems mostly dry, or through the central states, I should say, keep it, or the Midwest perhaps, get terminology right. Yeah, that keeps most of those states there largely dry, and certainly to southern states will be milder. And then in the west, we've got some low pressure coming in from upper Pacific, particularly in this northwestern part of America. Right, let's run through and see what happens then. So we do bring that cold air into the far north and northeast temporarily. There we go, into Christmas Eve. We've got some cold air sitting there in the north and in the northeast too, although it is beginning to already sort of retreat back in towards Canada, to be honest. But for a while, we do pull in those cold temperatures there through the Midwest and into the northeast through the course of tomorrow and heading into Christmas Eve. But by Christmas Eve, already beginning to start to retreat back into Canada. Otherwise, most parts of America looking very mild, has to be said, on Christmas Eve, really mild, especially through those central and western parts of America. And obviously, you know, there will be a fall of snow through the Midwest and into the northeast as those cold temperatures begin to recede. Heading in towards Christmas Day, we look like that milder air is starting to push northwards with this area of low pressure just here. So Christmas Day is also potentially looking quite mild, I think, across most parts of America. Beginning to pull some colder air down in towards the far northwest, perhaps, through here, from Canada, and like western parts of Canada looking extremely cold on Christmas Day. But most parts of America are actually looking very mild, and again, especially through the southern states, into the Midwest, over towards those eastern parts of America as well. This could be, you know, a really, really mild Christmas coming up across many, many parts of America. Right, moving on in towards beyond Christmas, so between Christmas and New Year, we get another little cold snap there around the 26th. That's just, that low pressure pushes out into the Atlantic and pulls down a colder northerly wind. Nothing out of your reach, just a little cold snap coming through there, but everything looks like it's driving in, you know, from west to east, so I don't think any cold weather would be sustained there for very long. And we're moving up towards the new year. Milder air is again beginning to push northwards, particularly through those eastern parts of America. Meanwhile, out west, it's looking colder with this area of low pressure here, and just generally quite a lot of low pressure in the west and the northwest, keeping things pretty cold and unsettled through there. We have a look at the upper air temperatures on the 30th of December. Again, we see it's in the northwest and through to these northern states where it does look really quite cold, but most of the cold is being kept in across Canada. It's not really being able to push its way southwards into those southern parts of America in the far north and northeast. A little bit cold there, but again, nothing more than would be expected, and probably even then milder for an average under this ridge of high pressure. Let's push on into early January then, see what happens. So again, there's no sign of anything cold really happening up to the beginning of January, but then we do get this deepening area of low pressure just here that moves in from the Pacific. Actually, that comes in from the Pacific, deepens over the Rocky Mountains, and starts to head towards Midwest. Now that is pulling up a very, very mild, if not quite warm, southerly wind on its eastern flank. So, again, much of the Midwest and East America looks really mild there, has to be said, on the 3rd of January. But it is pulling down some very cold air, potentially, on its western side. So, look at the upper air temperatures, all that contrast. That's the kind of thing we get in America. You know, absolutely fascinating climate. Look how warm it is on the eastern side of that area of low pressure. I do mean warm. We're bringing up genuine warmth there. Like your winter heat wave. Not really heat wave, but genuine warmth. We're pushing up from Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico on the east side of that area of low pressure, but extreme cold is being brought southwards on the western side of that area of low pressure. And obviously there's sort of loads of heavy rain and also heavy snow, blizzards, freezing rain, probably, you know, major ice storm could be going on with that as well. And such an enormous contrasting temperatures over a relatively short area. Absolutely unbelievable, like covering just one state between that extreme temperature contrast. Amazing, such an amazing climate that they have in America. So let's see what happens with that area of low pressure through the new year, Ben. So that pushes eastwards, and it does draw up that warmth at the eastern seaboard, of course, for a while. But then we've got heavy snow and blizzards on these northerly winds coming in from Canada. So eventually it does get very, very cold, probably only briefly with that area of low pressure. And we finish up looking like that. So another one begins to start pushing through there as we get through the 6th of January. And again, that's pulling down some very cold air on its western side. Look at the upper air temperature then by the 6th of January, extreme cold is beginning to start moving in from Canada. So it might be that after a very mild December, things are going to start turning both wetter, stormier, and potentially colder as we get through into early January. I would not be surprised if we do start to, if like this area of low pressure is the beginning of going into a much colder and stormier spell of weather potentially as we push on into January for northern parts of America. So, you know, you've had a mild early winter, but brace yourself. It could be that January begins to unleash things. Right, this is how the ECM is looking, the Euro. Again, all much of a much, just a little bit of a cold snap coming up today and tomorrow through the Midwest and into the East and the Northeast. That quickly gets moved out of the way. Heading into Christmas, it all looks rather mild, it has to be said, with, you know, winds coming up from a southerly or southwest direction. It is a cold Christmas, though, in the far northwest, however. So, a cold Christmas there, but otherwise, most parts of America actually looking relatively mild with the Euro on Christmas Day. Again, there's the upper air temperatures. Yeah, it's exceptionally mild across the central states in particular, but it does extend into more eastern and northeastern areas as well. Going between Christmas and New Year, no real sign of winter setting in up to that point. That's how we look as we get to New Year's Eve. We've got high pressure sitting in the east, drawing up a very mild southerly wind again across these eastern, northeastern, midwestern states. Out west, it looks colder, showing the upper air temperatures for New Year's Eve. They're looking like that. So again, many of these southern eastern states looking really mild. It is a lot colder in the north to northwestern part of America. So that's where winter really is residing, you know, in that northwestern part of the state. But southern, eastern and midwestern areas are looking still very mild up to the end of December. Remember, into January, we might start to turn things much stormier and also much colder. So as we finally, and then we're going to be done for this USA forecast, and for the USA forecast for this year, actually. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes from 21st to 27th of December. Low pressure to the northwest will bring cold weather through there. Otherwise, this ridge in the south will draw mild air into many parts of America. Into week 2, which will be the 28th of December to the 3rd of January. Low pressure moving through the northern states, high pressure in the southern states, winds coming in, something like that. That does bring colder air into the north potentially, but the southern states in particular will be very mild under that ridge of high pressure. No real changes for week 3, 4 to the 10th of January. Still has that trough of low pressure out to the northwest. That's where the coldest weather is likely to be. The southern states again, with this area of high pressure, should be relatively dry and mild. And not much of a change for week 4 either, which is the 11th, 17th of January. Low pressure again into the northwest in particular, but staying through those northern states. Might be some colder air digging into the northeast with that trough of low pressure, but for the southern southwestern states, lots of high pressure ridging through there. Temperature anomalies in weekend look very mild. It is colder just out to the far north and northwest, but otherwise most parts of the states over Christmas, as we've already explained, very mild. It is going to be a really mild Christmas this year. Much of Canada, though, looks very cold. So it really is a north-south divide across Northern America. Canada, extremely cold in most areas, but North America, very, very mild in most areas. Goes on into week 2, which is the 28th of December to the 3rd of January, although it does turn even colder in the west and through these far northern states, but otherwise most parts of America again looking pretty mild. Week 3 expands that cold air a little bit more. This is before to the 10th of January. Notice how it's just pushing further southwards from Canada into some of these northern states again, but southern states though looking very mild. And it goes on into week 4, which is the 11th, 17th of January. Again, very cold now across those northern states. It does cover coast to coast, like the northwest, all the way over to the northeast, actually. So it does imply that further on we go into January, the more of that cold air forces its way out of Canada and down into those northern, midwestern, and potentially even eastern states by the middle of January. So, as I say, you've had a very mild opening to this winter, but the winter is by no means done, as you know, in America. You know your climate, and you know, just because you have a mild start to winter does not mean that things won't get extremely cold later on, and this is perhaps a year where that's going to happen. Meanwhile, in the southern states, both of mild air does go on under that big ridge of high pressure. Precipitation wise, it looks like that, so above average precipitation in the north and west, mix of rain and snow developing on which state we're talking about, I suppose, and elevation of that sort of thing. Eastern parts of America generally will be on the dry side. Week 2 is the 28% to the 3rd of January, wetter out here, drier in the south, a little bit on the dry side in the northeast. Well, quite wet through there. Could there be a bit of a storm trap beginning to set up through there? I wonder that might be where the jet stream is beginning to set up. And then week 3 is the 4th to the 10th of January. It started to go wetter then across many parts of America. The drier weather is through these more southern states. So I think we are starting to see the jet stream coming southwards. We're beginning to set up a storm trap that's moving southwards. And then it's turning colder and stormier with an increasing risk of snow and blizzards moving in from Canada, I would have thought, there in that 3rd week. And then into week 4, which is the 11th, 17th of January, wet out here. A lot of that's going to be snow. And of course, starting to turn drier perhaps through here, and that might be beginning to draw up some milder air from the south, but of course that could also be over a ridge that's building over deep snow cover or something like that. Right, that's it then. So it continues to be a really mild December across many parts of America. It's going to be a pretty mild Christmas as well in many areas. Coldest probably in the northwest. We're going to get through into January. It looks like things will start to turn much more interesting then, turning significantly more stormier. That's the first thing I think you'll notice, with some really heavy rain, severe gale force winds, snow, blizzards, ice storms. You know, it's all going to be happening into early January, and as we progress further on in January, I reckon we're going to start seeing things turning much colder, potentially across those northern parts of America. So winter is coming, but for a while the mild weather goes on. Right, that's it for the USA forecast for today and also for this year. So I hope you enjoyed this year of the USA forecast. We'll be back, of course, in the new year. We'll see how things are looking then. But for this USA forecast, that's all for now. And thanks so much.